Good morning to our viewing public and to the members of the Ways and Means Committee and to our members of the public who are here in the gallery. The chair will now call today's Ways and Means Committee session into order, dated today, August 19. With enough members, we have eight members of the Ways and Means Committee to have the necessary quorum to conduct today's order of business. So with that, we are now on item 2, adoption of agenda. Do I hear a motion? There is a motion to adopt today's order of agenda, and it has been seconded. Discussion on that motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion is adopted. We move now to item 3, public comments, and at this time, if there's any members of the public who are here in the gallery who wishes to provide oral testimony, the podium is open. Seeing that there is no public comments, therefore, there is one. Okay, you may proceed. Please state your name for the record. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman, honorable members of this committee, educators, parents, and members of the community. My name is Grace May Signapati, and I am the acting president of the Parent Advisory Council, also known as the PAC, operating under the CNMI public school system as the official district level body collaborating with PSS leadership, the Board of Education, and Family and Community Engagement Programs. I am simply a parent volunteer, but if you don't already know who the PAC is, it is comprised of school community leaders and PTSA presidents representing each of the 20 public schools from Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda, along with parent leaders from the Head Start and Early Education and Special Education Program. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today about an issue that must be at the center of every conversation about the future of the Commonwealth, and that is adequately funding the public school system. Our message is pretty simple, that we must prioritize our students. The choices we make today will determine whether our children inherit a stronger, more stable CNMI, or one that continues to struggle because we failed to invest in the people who will carry the Commonwealth forward. We are already living the realities of not doing right by our children. And as the saying goes, when we do right by our children, we do right by our future. But this also presents us a telling warning. What happens when we ignore the needs of our children? We see the consequences in struggling families, lost opportunities, teacher departures, weakened communities, and a workforce that is less prepared to sustain our islands. When teachers leave, class sizes grow. Remaining educators become overburdened, and the quality and continuity of education suffers. When critical funds are partially funded, reallocated, or delayed, it is the children who pay the price. At the same time, the CNMI is still dealing with the aftermath of 2 devastating typhoons. Our schools and communities continue to face the cost of repairs, maintenance, recovery, and rebuilding. We must also prepare for the possibility that more severe storms may come. In fact, one is, scheduled to hit us this weekend. So these are not temporary challenges. They affect our facilities, our budgets, our students, and our ability to provide a safe and effective learning environment. Lest we forget that when disaster strikes, our schools become places of refuge, and our PSS employees become essential responders. They serve a role beyond education. So during typhoons and other emergencies, our schools are used as temporary shelters for families and individuals who need a safe place to stay. PSS employees help operate and manage these shelters because they are specially trained and certified to do so. While continuing to educate our children, our employees also take on the responsibility of protecting and supporting the broader community during disasters. This important service requires trained personnel, adequate staffing, emergency supplies, equipment, maintenance, and safe facilities. Funding PSS must therefore account not only for educational needs, but also for disaster recovery, preparedness, and long-term resilience for our schools. Supporting PSS strengthens not only our classrooms, but also the CNMI's emergency preparedness and response capability. The public school system is also preparing the workforce the CNMI will need in the coming years. The CW program, which carries 1 out of every 3 workers in the CNMI, is scheduled to wind down at the end of year 2029. That reality should make it even more urgent for us to develop our local workforce. PSS is continually mandated to help prepare our children for the future, and educators have been carrying out that responsibility on a massive scale, despite the lack of consistent support from the government. Our schools are not merely places where children receive instruction. They are where the future workforce of the Commonwealth is being developed and where students learn to honor, preserve, and carry forward the culture, traditions, language, and values of the CNMI. They are where students acquire the knowledge, skills, discipline, and confidence necessary to become teachers, nurses, business owners, public servants, tradesmen, and community leaders. Yet financial instability may be a contributing factor to the resignation of, to date, 137 educational employees, to date, since the beginning of this calendar year. And that number may still be growing. So that's an alarming rate. And the exodus of over 10% of the educational workforce, many of which are teachers. Every teacher who leaves represents more than a vacant position. It represents lost experience, disrupted relationships, increased workload, and fewer opportunities for students to thrive. And still, our educators continue to show up for our children. They show up despite uncertainty. They show up despite inadequate resources. They show up despite the personal and professional sacrifices required to remain in the CNMI. Many of our educators hold bachelor's, master's, even doctorate degree. They can seek opportunities elsewhere. Yet it humbles me that they choose to remain here because they believe in our children and in the future of the CNMI. Sorry, I said I wasn't gonna cry, but and they deserve more than our appreciation. They deserve meaningful support. For too long, the public school system has been continually deprioritized. Critical funds have been partially funded or reallocated, even when the needs of our students and schools remain urgent. We must recognize that these decisions have consequences. Underfunding education does not eliminate costs, it simply moves the costs into the future, where they become more expensive and more difficult to be addressed. The public school system is also unique among government agencies because it has the responsibility of managing and serving a critical stakeholder group that depends heavily on local funds. When there are poor processes, poor decisions, and poor management within the government, the impact is felt directly in the educational budget and ultimately by the students. That means accountability and responsible management are essential. But accountability must not become an excuse to underfund education. We must address inefficiencies and improve decision making throughout our government while also providing the resources necessary for schools to function effectively. We cannot demand better outcomes while withholding the support required to achieve them. For years, we have blamed the volatility of the tourism industry for the CNMI's economic challenges. Thank you. Tourism is important, but we cannot continue using it as the only explanation for our financial difficulties. We must also ask ourselves how we can expand our local revenue base, strengthen our economy, and invest in people who can diversify and sustain it. That investment begins with our children. We cannot claim to put the CNMI first if we do not prioritize our students. If we exclude our children from the decisions and priorities of government, then we are thinking only of our present interests. We are not investing in the stability, security, and prosperity of our future. Funding PSS means funding essential programs and services, including social, emotional, and mental health supports for our students. Food security for children of middle-class families who may depend on the school system for at least 2 meals a day. Continuous services for students with special needs whenever schools are open. And for some children, it may be the last safeguard and monitoring system protecting them from neglect, physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. For many students, the school is one consistent, safe place in their lives. The teacher may be the trusted adult who notices when something is wrong. The counselor may be the person who helps a child cope with trauma. The school meal may be the most dependable food the child receives that day. The special education provider may be the only person ensuring that the student is not left behind. These are not extras, these are not optional services. These are fundamental responsibilities we have to our children. When we fund the public school system, we're not simply funding classrooms. We are funding safety, opportunity, food security, mental health, workforce development, family stability, and the future of the CNMI. The question before us is not whether we can afford to support public education. The question is whether we can afford not to. We respectfully urge this legislature to make PSS funding a genuine priority, to protect critical education funds from reallocation, to support the recruitment and retention of qualified educators, to strengthen accountability and management, and to provide stable, reliable funding that allows schools to plan and serve students effectively. Our children cannot wait for the next budget cycle, the next economic improvement, or the next explanation. They are in our classrooms today, their needs are immediate, and their future is being shaped by the decisions we make now. So let us choose to prioritize them. Let us support the educators who continue to serve them. Let us invest in the workforce, the families, and the communities of tomorrow. And let us demonstrate through our budget and our actions that the CNMI truly comes first because our children come first. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Naputi. The podium is still open for any members of our public who wishes to provide oral testimony. Please state your name for the record. Thank you. Yeah, please press the button for your mic, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I thought I was going to scream. Good morning, Chair and esteemed body of the legislature. My name is Melania Ardeal. I am currently the principal of Mafnas High School, but I stand before you delivering a public comment by reading a submitted statement by our teacher rep for the State Board of Education. Hafide Zentiro, my name is Dora Boramura. I am the teacher representative to the Sinai State Board of Education. I am here today to remind this committee about the importance of public education. I know you understand how vital public education is to our community. I know you believe in our students. I also know that you face difficult decisions when deciding how to allocate our scarce resources. Thank you for the work you do for our people. Our people, that is the key here. Our people deserve a bright future. Education is the answer. Our people deserve a future where our manamku are well cared for. Education is the answer. Our people deserve a future where we all get the best and latest medical attention. Education is the answer. Our people deserve a future that incorporates the beauty and strength of our cultures and the efficiency and innovation of technology. Education is the answer. I have faith that this committee will show our people that you care for us by giving PSS the $44.98 million it needs to ensure our students have 5 days of school week. Thank you. Chair, if I may ask, I know I have time remaining.
Please proceed. I'll give you the time.
Thank you very much. So now I stand here before you as a principal. I said I wasn't going to make a public comment, but I came here with the students and my teachers in my heart. Yesterday was the first day of school, and it was a beautiful sight. The last day I saw most of them, April 10th. It was noisy, chaotic, but it was music to my ears because they came ready. Ready for another school year, ready to learn. I was asked a hard question yesterday. Miss, so what? October? No schools every Monday? I said I wish I could answer that, but I can't. But you better believe I will find out and I will let you know. I understand X amount of, simple equation. X amount of dollars equates to X amount of services. Let me retract that. Quality services. Over the 20 years I've served PSS, I've been through it all. From the typhoons, pandemics, having to close down the school, having to graduate the seniors. I've been through that. And I saw how it affected them. Again, this past year after Sulaco, they lost. Our students lost. It was beyond our control. It was Mother Nature, right? But when things get back into our control, what can we do? How can we maximize with the limited resources? My message to the PSS family, and these are the parents, believe that PSS is after the educational welfare of your children. We can only make do with what we have. I go back to the equation. X amount of dollars equals X amount of quality service. I urge you and I pray for you all to solve for that X. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Melanie. Podium is still open if we still have members of the public who are here in the gallery who wishes to provide oral testimony. Please state your name for the record. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues, members of the House. My name is Gregorio M. Sablon Jr., and I'm here on behalf of PSS. I stand before you to ask you kindly and respectfully to be considerate and mindful when making your decision of how we divide our scarce budget that we have for this fiscal year. I only ask, you have people that have testified that without the proper funding, we cannot provide the proper services required for our students. When you say that our students are our priority and are our future, then it is time that we really think of how we say that when we say our kids are our future. Because without the proper funding, schools tend to provide what we can do. Services are disrupted when we don't have the proper funding. So I kindly and humbly ask you all to be considerate of how you divide the money, and I only kindly request that you be considerate of PSS, because we have students that have been recognized nationally representing the cinema in competitions in drones, robotics, archery, and it's programs that enhances the potentials of kids, giving them ideas of what they want to pursue in the future. It's not just military, but also future or furthering their education, and then coming back and providing that services to the cinema and also to the public school system. Again, I kindly and humbly ask for your consideration, and thank you for your consideration and time.
Thank you, Mr. Sablon. Podium is still open for any members of our public here in the gallery who wishes to provide oral testimony. Seeing that there is no further public comments, the chair now will close public comments and move further down on our order of business. We are now on item 4, introduction, and at this time, the chair would like to formally introduce the Committee of Ways and Means to you guys. My name is John Paul Sablon. I'm the chair of the Committee of Ways and Means. To my left is Representative BJ Atto, vice chair of the committee. And to his left, we have Madam Floor Leader, member of the Committee on Ways and Means. To her left, we have Representative Ralph Yumo. And to his left, we have Representative Julie Ogo. To her left, we have Representative Angelo Camacho. To his left, we have Representative Malcolm Omar. And across the aisle, we have Leader Roy Ada. To his left, we have Representative Denita Yangtimay. To her left, we have Representative TJ Manglonia. And to his left, we have Representative Joe Flores. Also assisting the committee this morning are our bureau staff, starting with our legal counsel, Carrie. We have our fiscal analyst, Mr. Cameron Nicholas. We have our senior legislative assistant, Ms. Claire Sablon. We also have our IT, Mr. Dale. We have our legal counsel, Mr. Joe Bermudez. I almost missed Mr. Counsel. And also assisting us is our Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Pete Towai. Also here with us this morning from the administration assisting the committee is Ms. V from the Office of Management and Budget and Ms. Jasmine Camacho. So with that, under introduction, item 4, introduction, item A, statement from the chair. The chair will now like to take this opportunity on behalf of the Committee of Ways and Means to thank you, Acting Commissioner Jackie Che and the PSS family for coming before the Committee of Ways and Means so that we can discuss the critical budget proposal that we have from the administration. And with that, we now move to item 5, which is new business. Under item B, the Sinamay Public School System. I now give you the floor, Acting Commissioner Jackie Che, and if you may just kindly introduce your team to the committee. And I know that you are going to be presenting a presentation to the body, and the floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Good morning to this esteemed body. I would like to introduce the team. To my far left is Dr. Bonnie. She's the Senior Director for Accountability Research and Evaluation. To her right is Ms. Donna Flores. She is the Interim Senior Director for Student Support Services and is also our Director for SPED. To my left is Dr. Lorraine Catienza, Interim Senior Director for Office of Curriculum and Instruction, but also the Director of ITDE. To my right is our Director of Finance, John Ogden. To his right, our Associate Commissioner, Eric Magofnia. And to his right, our HR Director, Ms. Lucretia. Before I do acknowledge the people in the crowd here, I do want to say thank you to Ms. Grace Naputi, to Ms. Mel, and Dr. Mira, and Mr. Sablon, Colonel Sablon, for your testimony. Thank you so much. And to everyone here who came here to support PSS, thank you for showing up today. Okay, good morning, Chairman and distinguished members of the House Committee on Ways and Means. I stand before you today on behalf of close to 8,000 students across our three beautiful islands of Saipan, Tinian, and Rota, and on behalf of nearly 1,000 dedicated employees who show up for them every single day. Just yesterday, we marked the brand new school year. We opened our doors. Lots of laughter, lots of yelling, right? Music to our ears. And we welcomed our children back to their first day of school since April 10. Looking into their eyes, the mandate was very clear. Education is non-negotiable. Students must always come first. Every single child in the Commonwealth deserves a high-quality education. And it is our sacred duty to protect them, but also to protect our students, we must also protect the people who give them that future, our teachers, our support staff, and our frontline educators. We are fully aware of the dark economic clouds hanging over our islands. Just a couple days ago, the governor did share heartbreaking news, right? That the CNMI must furlough close to 200 to 400 government employees because our economic recession has left us with so little to go around. We feel that pain deeply, and we know that funding is scarce. But I did not come here today to speak to you from a place of defeat or division. I come here today in the true spirit of solidarity and partnership. The legislature and the public school system are not on opposite sides of the table. We are in the same canoe, paddling through the same storm or storms. We are partners in governance, and we are partners in the future of our people. PSS, we've been rolling up our sleeves this past year. We have made internal cuts to show you that we are responsible stewards of the public's trust. And today, through this presentation, I do want to walk you through our realities, our sacrifices, and our solutions so that together we can protect the integrity of education. Next slide. Can we go to, so PSS serves close to 8,000 students all across the CNMI. Next slide. We have 9 elementary schools, 5 middle schools, and 6 high schools, 10 Head Start and Early Head Start centers. What you see before you is our full budget request, right? At $52 million. That means all our FTEs are filled. At the 80 hours, our budget request that we are presenting before you today is at $44.98 million. At 72 hours, which is every other Monday austerity, that's $41 million. And at the very baseline, $37 million to sustain the current workforce that we have at 64 hours, which is every austerity Monday. Every Monday is austerity. Next slide. Again, here's a visual of what that looks like, right? $52 million, that is status quo, all local FTEs filled, all the way down to $37 million, which is current FTEs at 835, filled and at 64 hours. Next slide. So the governor did submit a proposal. There are 2 scenarios for that. His first proposal was at $37 million, which if we compare that with the 64 hours that we're requesting or that you saw in the previous slide, that's a shortfall of $59,000. His scenario 2 at $36 million, if you cross-check against our request of 64 or the amount that we're putting under 64, that is $1.2 million shortfall. Next slide. So our request rate is $44.9 million. That is to sustain 80 hours for all employees of the public school system. $37 million is really our baseline, right? The current FTEs filled, no furlough, no RIF, 64 hours, no work, no school on Monday. Anything below 37 million will require very deep cuts, and that could mean further reduced school days. 4 days a week, maybe 3 days a week. It'll also mean furlough, reduction in force, and school consolidation. Next slide. So in school year 2025-2026, we did lose a total of 40 days as a result of Super Typhoon Sinlaku. And due to austerity, we did lose 13 days. So a total 53 days lost this past school year. For this school year, if we maintain 72 hours, right, every other Monday is austerity, we would have lost 17 days. If we go down to 64 hours, that is a total of 35 days lost. Next slide. What you see here to your left on the table is our enrollment trend from 2022 to 2026. As you can see, our enrollment count has been decreasing, right? From 2022 at 9,430 students all the way to 2026, which is 7,980. We understand that the numbers are decreasing, and people think, okay, if your numbers are decreasing, then what does that mean? You cut your people, right? You consolidate schools. So we are very committed to implementing cost reduction in line with our enrollment declining year after year. We are considering this year restructuring our central offices. That may look like mergers, but also enforcing school right sizing. That may mean school closures and possible school consolidation. Next slide. Let me see here. I do want to share, and it's not a slide that we have up here. When I did talk about the cost cutting that we've done this past year, I did share that PSS, we did roll our sleeves this past year, right? And then we also plan on restructuring central office. We have plans on possibly consolidating schools. I do want to show you that we are also leading by example here in the CNMI to prioritize our frontline instructional staff. The budget that we've shared earlier proposes 0 general salary increases or any scale raises for management and director level positions. There is a freeze in any adjustment. Furthermore, we've also enacted a formal freeze on certification-based pay increases effective November 1, 2025. That means if our teachers did get certified, additional certification, they will not be getting any pay adjustment as a result of that. We've temporarily suspended any adjustments also related to attaining higher degrees. If they did pursue a master's degree, no salary adjustment. If they pursued a doctorate degree, no salary adjustment. In addition, we've also cut non-personal overhead. There is a district-wide suspension of all employee travel. In effect, only zero-cost TAs or grant-required travel is allowed on a case-by-case basis. On our campuses, we are also enforcing very strict energy mandates to minimize consumption. This includes using our solar panels. It also includes adhering to a standardized temperature control and also enforcing mandatory aircon shutdowns during weekends and post-instructional periods. On behalf of the public school system, I do want to thank you for your continued dedication and partnership to all the children who will one day lead these islands. Despite severe fiscal hardships, our vision to provide high-quality education and to put our students first remains uncompromised. We respectfully urge that you, the legislature, support our budget request to protect the integrity of our classrooms and our students. I implore you that we work hand in hand to safeguard our children's future. And thank you very much. We are now open to questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackie Che, for your presentation to the full body. So let us open now for questions and answers, and the chair would like to start. So in scenario one of the governor's revised budget submission, the governor recommended the use of lapse funds from PSS in fiscal year 2022, the tune of 4.9, and the fiscal year 2023 in the tune of 2.8, with a combined amount of 7.7 million. He recommends to allocate a little over 1.9 to PSS. Does PSS currently possess 7.7 in lapse funds from fiscal year 2022 and 2023?
Thank you, Chair. The PSS does not possess the $7 million in question. We are still undergoing our audit, so that amount could not be confirmed. But I will defer to our Director of Finance to explain more fully.
Please.
Tiro Mehafide to this esteemed committee. And I also would like to echo our commissioner, acting commissioner, regarding that, because those funds are from, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Certification of those funds, I think, should be more in line with what is current to date instead, which we are working through, as she mentioned, in the ongoing audits.
Follow up to that, do we happen to know what is the time frame that we can expect these audits to be formulated?
Fiscal year 24 is looking to be completed by or before the end of this calendar year.
Thank you for that response. Under scenario 2 of the governor's revised budget submission, the governor recommends lowering the constitutional earmark of 25% to 15%. If enacted, how much will lowering such earmark affect PSS?
Well, that's dependent on the approved budget. So let's say if the government did forecast a revenue projection and that was the amount at 100 million, then that would mean PSS would be operating at 15 million. And that would be a severe devastation that we will not be able to open up any schools. That would be a complete shutdown.
Okay. Thank you for that response. Furthermore, in the revised budget, the governor recommends permanent repealing of statutory earmarks, namely the non-resident worker fees funds and the PSS technical education funds under 4 CMC section 1503. Does PSS oversee these fund accounts? And if so, how much are in these respective accounts?
I can respond to that. We are, I believe, just about fully liquidated in the amounts that have been transferred to PSS regarding the CW funds. Am I correct? Yes.
Is that something that you guys, can we make an official request that you furnish that figures
Yes.
to this August body?
Noted.
Thank you. My next question, in your budget submission, specifically on page 10, PSS showed 3 different scenarios for different funding levels, as you have presented early. At the 52.5 as your full budget request, the 44.9 million as your reduced budget request, and of course the 37.7 as your request to maintain 64 hours. Within the reduced budget of 44.9, is the amount of 39.3 enough to fund personnel at 80 hours biweekly? And will there be a loss of instructional days in this scenario.
Yeah. Chair, could you go ahead and repeat that question? Is your question on if we
With-
stick to the $44.9
Right.
million dollars, would that mean 80 hours for employees in a full 5-day instructional week? Is that
So
your
within the
question?
reduced budget request of 44.9, as you presented on your scenarios, if given in the amount of 39.3, is it enough to fund personnel at 80 hours biweekly?
That is an amount that is going to be enough to fund 80 hours biweekly. It is a drop. For example, I'll explain this here. At the 44.9, school operations do drop by 20%, utilities by 10%, and central operations by 13%. But it does mean an 80-hour work week. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that response. Furthermore, based on your budget submission, you are requesting for 46.3 for personnel. But just looking at based on the total amount that you submitted for local FTEs, you will need about 43.2 million. Can you please inform the committee what the extra 3.1 is for in the variance?
I believe that is largely due to having an operational or at least funds to assign for emergency hires for substitute teachers or teacher aides.
So in the tune of 3.1 is reserved for emergency hiring?
Correct.
Thank you for that response. As of today, how many teachers have resigned from PSS? I know that you have did your presentation, but would it be possible to transfer some of that salaries to local funded FTs to federal funds?
As of today, we have lost 137 employees, 47 of which are teachers, but that figure 47 is as of last month. With regard to your question about could we transfer some of those teachers into federal funds, my response would be it depends on the grant itself. For example, we are not able to use like child nutrition program funds for hiring teachers. So the answer would be it depends on the grant that's funding it. And also, we would need to get prior approval before enacting that or before switching the funding source between those employees.
Okay. Thank you for that response. On page 11 of your budget submission, and as you have presented, you indicate the need for school right sizing as a cost-cutting strategy. Can you please elaborate more on this initiative? Does this mean elevating some schools from elementary level to middle school, junior, high school level? Is that
So that is one option. When we talk about school right sizing, we are looking at least a 10-year trend of the enrollment per school. And right sizing would mean possibly merging 2 elementary schools together because one school has been decreasing over the years. It could also mean merging or consolidating 2 middle school together because of the population count over the years.
is it practical to gather elementary and higher?
For now, we are just looking at the elementary level together, but not merging elementary with middle at this point.
Okay, thank you for that response. And your other strategy, as you mentioned in your presentation, you mentioned central office reorganization, right? Can you just elaborate on that strategy more and how you're gonna implement it by far?
So central office reorganization, it really does mean a restructuring of our central office departments. And I want to make it very clear that central office is not like a an overhead ballooned administrative department, right? Our central office does include our people transportation, our food service monitors, and several programs that are funded under a grant. So in terms of restructuring or reorganizing central office, what we're doing is looking at every department's functionality and seeing whether there are some duplications in some programs that we may have to merge or eliminate entirely. So it's kind of bringing the central office to be a bit smaller but more streamlined and efficient.
Okay, thank you for that response. And maybe if I can move to, maybe it's to Mr. Magofnia with regards to PSS capital improvement projects. We noticed that each project was given certain priority. Was there an evaluation process or scoring mechanism that took place to order designate how important project is within all projects within PSS?
Good morning, Chair. Yes, so the priority number that was assigned to each project was really a collaboration with the school principals and the facilities development and management office, and to see what their school priorities were.
Okay. There are still projects that you're still, PSS is still actually working on with FEMA?
Yes, we have several ongoing projects from Super Typhoon U2, and then now with the previous Super Typhoon Sinlaku and Bavi, we are in the assessment stage, and we are going to be adding more projects.
And with regards to our Habo Junior High School, what's the status on that pending project?
Yeah, so for the Haput project, there will be an RFP that will be announced this week, requesting for proposals for a construction management A&E firm.
Okay, and what is the funding level right now? Because I know that you guys already took or taken the demolition aspect of the project itself. So this is more into the construction of the classes. So what is the funding level left over for Habo Junior High School?
So you are correct. The demolition is complete. The design phase is also complete. So with the construction phase, I will need to get back to you on the exact figure. But then, because we will be going out to bid on the construction, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to mention the dollar amount on the project.
Well understood. But you're in liberty to share that to this committee.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Let that be an official request by this committee. And I have last two of my questions. With regards to the typhoon recovery, right, are there, if any, used local funds from PSS that was spent, not including federal assistance? Was there any local funds that was used?
For the Sinlaku and Bavi?
For the previous typhoons on recovery?
Yes, we did use a lot of our local funds to address the emergency repairs, a lot of the Cat A's and Cat B's. We're also fortunate that we reached out to our federal grantors, and we were able to use some of our federal funds to assist in the emergency repairs for a lot of the temporary works that needed to be completed at the schools.
Okay, so with that response, we can fairly say that PSS is expecting reimbursements from FEMA. Do you have that figure?
We're currently compiling all those invoices, and we will be forwarding that to the Public Assistance Office for a request for reimbursement under the Cat A and Cat B category.
So PSS is in the process of fulfilling that process?
Yes.
And do you happen to know the amount that PSS is expecting if and when approved for reimbursements?
I can get that. I don't have that number on the top of my head, but I know that we did several projects with deep cleaning, mold remediation, and some other temporary fixes for the schools.
Okay. Can that be also a request by this body, if you can share the figures, and if and when that process get approved and PSS get reimbursed, what is the goal and objective in diverting those funds, Acting Chair, Commissioner, with these funds, because they were used locally, and when we reimburse, are you planning to divert it to the priorities of PSS in trying to address the shortfalls within your budget request?
The answer is yes.
Thank you. I now yield to the Vice Chair for questions and answers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Acting Commissioner, and to your team, good morning and welcome to the House Chamber. Cam, can you go back to the audits? And first to our Finance Director, how much in earmark funds do you guys get on an annual basis?
From the local government?
From the existing statutes, that, for example, like the non-resident worker fund and other special accounts that are directing funds straight to PSS that's not appropriated.
Let's see. Regarding the CW funds, we have not received any additional transfers, I think, since 2025. Let's see. We also have the tobacco and the 1% textbook fund.
How much in total on an annual basis is that?
It's under $1 million.
Under $1 million?
Yes.
Let's say $900,000. Is that fair to say 900,000?
I would say about 600,000.
600,000?
Yeah.
Okay, so in this budget, would PSS be in support in removing the restrictions so that PS can actually use those funds to be able to utilize to add on to their fiscal year budget? Has some flexibility.
Yes.
So in either case scenario, we've already removed the negative 50,000, was that 50,000 from scenario one and $1 million from
Yeah.
scenario two? Okay, so that puts us in the green already in scenario one, right? On the audit reports, that $4.9 million, was that utilized for FY26 as we agreed to with the previous commissioner and the team at PSS? Was that added to your FY26?
First, we do appreciate this House for House Bill 24-70. Unfortunately, it's still, the bill is still at the Senate level.
Yeah, if we acted on that legislation, what they would have done, actually sitting in the Senate, but that would only cut PSS and give 25% to PSS. We had a meeting with the management team with then Commissioner Camacho to go ahead and work with that, use that money for FY26 because it's lapsed money and it's money that shouldn't be returned back to the general fund. Is that being utilized right now?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, so that would mean that the $2.76 million would be available for FY27, right? Based on the audits. So that takes us up and it'll remove scenario two's negative $1 million.
I believe that we cannot confirm that that full amount because, as was mentioned, it's being utilized. That which is why I said recommend that a more current figure be certified instead.
I do understand that, but the one that's currently being utilized is a $4.9 million. The FY23 2.7 hasn't been touched yet.
Yes, but I think what's more telling is with subsequent audit reports, we will see the figure change.
So, but based on this audit of FY23, that money's there, correct?
In terms of the books, yes.
Okay, so if we take that number, add that to the $600+ million, now that gets you to over $3 million, right? So we remove all the red from scenario 1 and 2 already, right off the bat, correct? That would get us above the $37 million.
From the 36 base?
From the 36 base or even the 37 base, just based on the flexibility to use the earmark funds to PSS of $600,000, remove restrictions, that would give PSS, we'll put them in the green based on the scenario 1.
Based on this presented scenario, I would.
Because I
seems that
think
way.
that the presentation showed negative something for scenario one and then negative
Yes.
something for scenario two, right?
Yeah.
So then this would get us closer to $40 million. Correct?
Yes, it would.
Okay. I'm asking to show that we can show
Yeah.
that right now with options that we can actually put in the budget, we can get PSS already in the green based on the two scenarios, and trying to get to the main goal of getting the full-time 80 hours and making sure that the students get their 5-day a week education. In our previous meeting with you, acting commissioner, you had mentioned that if we get to the 37 million as a hard number that we had asked, that the 37 million would address 5-day school days for the students. Is that correct? Or is that the scenario change from our previous meeting?
So 37 million is really the baseline that it's really the baseline, as in we want the 44.9. 44.9 is the goal. It means local funds are going to be used for the 5-day school week. 5. If we at least get to the 37 million, right, the 37 million will mean 4 days of work and then 4 days of school funded by local, but there may be a flexibility with federal funds to cover the Monday as an intervention Monday. So our kids can come back to school, but they'll be tutored, getting tutoring services. They'll be doing different activities. They won't be taking their regular classes, math, English, reading, science, social studies. During those intervention Mondays, they will be getting intervention type of services. So there's those two options, right? At the 44 million, which is the goal, that means 5 days, but locally funded. At this 37 million, that means 4 days locally funded, but the Monday will be an intervention Monday. That may be able to cover a portion of our, it may cover a pay differential for teachers. We're hoping that it could cover salary, but at this point, it's a pay differential guarantee, which may be lower than the actual salary that they're losing by not going to work on Monday.
Can we get that figured out before we even act on this budget? Because it's important for us, right? And for PSS, most especially to the students, because with the understanding that we during our first meeting was that $37 million was like the hard number to get to 5 days. But we've already shown you right here today that we can go beyond the 37 million just based on what we have in front of ourselves, right? But the goal is to get even higher, right? So there's other opportunities to get to that point, but at least we know, and you guys see it, that we can already get beyond that hard number of 37 and potentially grow. And I believe there's other opportunities on earmark funds that we can work with you guys. And the one is flexibility of monies that's going straight to PSS and not acting on a legislation, because once you free up this legislation, you know that it's going to be targeted at only 25% going to PSS. So the $2.7 million, and based on 18-12 and in the Constitution, that those monies that are lapsed for PSS should be remaining at PSS. So you know, just off the books and in black and white in front of us of $2.7 million, that's already available for PSS, at least for FY27. With the $600,000+ added to that, now we're looking at $3+ million, and then we can work further. But if we can get some answers from PSS's side, also on how we can use the federal side to be flexible in making sure that the teachers get their full pay and the students get their full education, then we can actually act and have something more in concrete, rather than keep going back and forth with PSS, so that we help each other to get to the main goal in providing the services or the monies towards PSS so they can provide its services. And
I want to clarify on the intervention Monday. As much as we want that to be a salary, for example, they've lost 20% of their salary by not going to work on Monday. That is not something that we've gotten approval yet from the feds. It is a pay differential. So pay differential is not a salary. It's like a supplemental pay, like an allowance given to teachers on a Monday if they come in to tutor. And that funding could not cover operational overhead like the maintenance staff, the custodians. It's only the instructional staff who are coming in to tutor students, and it's not their salary. It's a supplemental pay. So they're not getting the Monday paid. We're just giving them a check, right? The amount could be $75 or $150.
Sure, but that's at least a hard number we can work with, right? And the higher we get the budget,
Yeah.
it can subsidize that. So there can be, I don't know, like a hybrid of teaching and tutoring, so that our
Yeah.
students are in school and they get the education that they so need.
Exactly. And the ultimate goal, and I've shared this with our team several times, right, is the ultimate goal for PSS is to get our kids back to 5 days. But by getting our kids back to 5 days, that means that employees, our educators, we're on that path to 80. But our ultimate goal is the 5 days a week for our students. And the 5 days a week will also mean that our employees will also benefit because they get to work during those 5 days. But I understand, and we will get you that figure.
Yeah, and that's important. With the 47 teachers, are we filling up those positions? And what's the cost of the 48 positions or teachers that have left PSS again?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. It's actually a very, very good question. So I'll respond to the first part of your question, then I'll punt it over to our HR director. I want to commend the entire public school system for opening up the school year yesterday. It was a huge feat. We have lost so many staff. We are very limited in our current pool, even within our maintenance and our facilities. And we've lost a lot of people, right, between January and today. We've lost 47 teachers. We did not hire for the reopening. What we've done is we've looked at our staffing pattern, and we moved teachers around from every school. We've moved people from central office down to the school to teach, to counsel, to be a registrar. So I do want to commend the team, first off, for making that very hard sacrifice, losing people just to give another school one staff. As for the amount that we've saved, I will pivot that over to Lucretia.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize, I'm a little bit under the weather today, but to respond to that question, so approximately the cost for the 47 individuals with an average salary ranging from 45, and then adding all the benefits, it's roughly close to about 2.5 million just for the 47 teachers.
How about the remaining staff?
The remaining staff that we have, so one moment. I believe it was close to 3.8 total minus the 2.2 million for the teachers.
So about 1.7. No? So 3.3, 3.8 total?
Yes. That's just an estimated figure.
Yes. Would PSS be able to move these monies around while we're working on getting to that $40+ million? Meaning, use these monies if PSS is not going to hire additional teachers, can we use these monies for these Mondays that would match the federal side in regards to the hybrid teaching?
We would love that if we were able to carry it over. But this money that was left frozen, right, because we've lost people, are currently being used this fiscal year.
Sure, but it's going to be calculated in that 44, correct?
Yes.
Right, so that would mean that those positions are vacant and those monies are available for some flexibility for PSS,
Yeah.
or even at that $37 million.
Yes, correct.
So based on that $37 million at $3.8 million in cost, technically you got some flexibility of $3.8 million within the $37 million, or less, whatever the percentage cost is.
Yes, correct.
Right, so maybe that's something that we can consider. So we'll try to move numbers up, but at the same time, we need your help in how you're going to be able to distribute the vacancy monies.
Yeah, yes,
that
thank
can be
you.
available. Would that be something that's workable for PSS? Because we want to make sure that you have a lot of flexibility in how you use your money. We don't want to restrict it, and we will put a stance to make sure that we don't restrict funding for PSS in how you use money.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we also would respectfully ask PSS to be very strict on PSS programs to make sure that the student chaperone ratio is well known and well publicized, because that's where the challenge happens, and that's why these types of languages are included into the
Yeah.
budget.
Thank you.
But we appreciate you guys, and thank you. Well, thank you for opening schools yesterday, and we look forward to working with PSS and how we can maximize the monies that we have available for appropriation, in addition to the 25% that's obligated by the government. I mean, by the Constitution to revert back to PSS and see how we can get you guys full and whole. But we have options right now in front of us that can make PSS almost whole, and the goal is to make it fully whole. No, thank you guys.
We appreciate that.
Thank you, Vice. Just one follow-up on the line of question of the Vice with regards to Commissioner, your work with the feds on trying to have that tutoring Mondays. Is that for every student? Because not all student needs to be tutored, right? So that's for only the ones that needs to be tutored. Is that correct?
That's a very excellent question. So that funding is only for students who do need tutoring because they're at risk or they're 2 grade levels before, where they're supposed to be. But my request for the feds is that all our students deserve to get intervention because of the back-to-back typhoons and the loss of instructional time during austerity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can fairly say that there will be some students that will still be observing Monday offs.
We want all our students to come back because
Okay.
all of them
So you're
have-
working on that?
Yeah, all of them have been impacted by
Trying
the typhoon.
to kind of generalize it
Yes.
as an intervention and not just specifically
Yes.
focus on tutoring. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that response. I now open to the other members by hands. Let me recognize Representative Angelo Camacho.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to PSS. So again, just a follow-up question with regards to the Monday intervention. If allowed, would it be considered as an instructional day to meet the 180-day mandate?
I don't know. It wouldn't be.
All right, yeah, if we can verify that, that'll be great, so that we can, our kids can meet that, whatever for the accreditation. And then I guess I'm gonna move along to utilities. So I noticed in your submission, there was a 200,000 in reduction for your utility cost. Is that like a fixed rate, or is it based on actual usage?
It's based on projection.
Projections, okay, I see. And then, Mr. Magofnia mentioned, there were quite a couple emergency repairs. Does that include the solar panels?
No, the solar panels were not included in the repairs. The solar panels is a separate power purchase agreement with MRE.
Okay. And the reason why I asked is because you guys did I guess like the reduction of 200,000, and without, because I'm pretty sure most schools sustain damages within their solar systems, and my only question would be, I guess, or my thought, right, because of the increase in utility rates, wouldn't you guys expect the utilities to go higher than the proposed reduction?
If I may, the answer for that is yes. The budget request, the book that was presented to you was prepared prior to the typhoon, because the budget call deadline was sometime in, I think, March or April. So that was prior to Senlaku. So of course, the realities that we have is that schools don't have 100% solar panel systems working. I know that's something that's within the court of MRE. But then there are also strategies we can put into place to control utilities. Just one I can just think from the top of my mind is like if we're going to operate summer school, summer is like, let's say 6 weeks long, 5 weeks long. It's possible to run summer school, let's say consolidated. Depending on the school numbers, we can not open all schools for summer if we can consolidate that and not have to spend on utilities. Those are measures that we have in our control to still offer opportunities for students, but at the same time, control cost.
I see. Okay, thank you for that. And then another, I guess, emergency repair. Does that include the transformer for Cagman Elementary? And if so, how much are we looking at in local funds?
Yes, the Cagman Elementary School power situation is funded is funded using local funds. Rough estimate for total 100% restoration of Cagman Elementary School's power would cost PSS about $100,000.
100,000. Okay. Wow. And then I'm sorry. So 100,000. I guess the chairman's earlier question when he asked about how much are we expecting in federal reimbursement. So I think it's because we're just talking about the transformer alone being at 100,000. So would it be safe to say that we'd be expecting at least a couple more 100,000s on reimbursements?
So with the power situation at Cagman, yes, it's emergency, but because of the amount and the time, we're currently working with FEMA and PAO to put that in our PW. So if they're going to allow us to put it under the Cat A or Cat B, then that is great for us. We can be able to get a reimbursement right away. And if it's not, and if it's something that will be in the Cat E, that would require more time for FEMA and PSS with the RFIs going back and forth and having to wait for the obligation of that PW for that school.
I see. Thank you. I know we're talking budget, but since I have you guys here, I might as well take advantage, right? I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question, but if it's possible, because I received so many calls yesterday with regards to traffic, right? And especially if it deals with the whatever emergency situation. I know that the Cagman Elementary is still without power. Therefore, I think the merge with the students being at Chacha Junior High, the traffic went from Chacha to Cagman Market, so that you're talking like about almost a 2-mile stretch. Is there any way we can mitigate it a little bit, maybe, perhaps? I mean, like I said, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question. And I know, I hope parents are listening to this so that we can get a more clarity on this situation.
Yes, so we've noticed that with several schools, and it's just mostly because of it being the first day. It's really parents wanting to be the ones to drop off their kids the first day, bring them to their class. But as we progress through the school year, we're hoping that the traffic does lessen. Now, if it doesn't lessen by the end of this week, then we will revisit that situation to see how we can mitigate the traffic situation.
All right, thank you. I guess that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Angelo Camacho. The chair now recognizes Leader Roy Ada.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner, for being here, as well as your team, and to also the members of the gallery, and to everybody that made those very strong cases about making sure that we provide the best scenario for the students and the teachers. Most of my questions actually were answered, especially with your presentation in regards to internally what PSS is doing, and I commend you for actually and your team for looking into those things and taking the initiative to suspend a lot of things that would affect the budget, and you guys are putting students first. One of the concerns that I do have, or questions that I have, is a lot of these students rely on the schools for their meals and the programs, and all these stuff. Would the reduction in the budget affect the meals that you provide to the students, and if they, what are the steps taken, or what is the program gonna look like in terms of like if you do recognize austerity Mondays, would then the students not receive meals, or would they receive meals throughout the year?
Thank you for that question. We are under austerity right now, so every other Monday we don't have work or school. But our child nutrition program, they do provide grab and go meals during those austerity Mondays. The issue there is we may have families that do not have the means to come pick the food up, right? So there are times that we do have food left over because, let's say we have families walking to the school to get the meals on those austerity Mondays. There could be families that will not drive over because they want us to save their gas. So that's an issue too, right? And the reason why we want to open up 5 days, because we can guarantee that our kids will be in the school during those 5 days, as opposed to hoping that someone would pick up their meals on austerity Monday.
I appreciate it, and I hope that with everything going on, that we can actually meet, at least the 44 that you're asking, just so that not only the instructors or the teachers can maintain the 80 hours, but more importantly, the students, get the attention and the education that they need, especially also with Colonel Sablon talking about programs and whatnot. Those are really important to the development of these kids. So I know that our chairman here, is always looking at creative ways or innovative ways as to how we can actually help meet the number. So thank you to you and your team.
Thank you, Leader Royada. Madam Commissioner, under the federal assistance that PSS is getting, how much in totality are we expecting this fiscal year in federal grants and assistance?
Not including FEMA, but just the current grants that we currently
Right,
have,
yes, not including
competitive
FEMA.
funding, close to 120 million.
120 million. And part of this 120 million is the consolidated grants too, as well, right?
20 million of that is the consolidated grant.
Okay. And then, as we were talking in previous last week, I know that normally in the consolidated grants, there are portion of amount is dedicated for professional development, right? And and I have asked you, right, to kind of talk to your grantors to maybe, I know that teachers do need the professional development help, but maybe at this point of time when we're really in challenge with our fiscal ability to fund our PSS institution, that we, for now, kind of redivert that to more priorities rather than, and I know that part of your presentation you have mentioned that you have working on policy on freezing travels, right? So is that still the case as we speak at this moment?
Thank you, Chair. This past year, as I've mentioned, we've already put in a freeze on all travel, except for those that are zero TA, which does not cost the system anything, or grant required travel. And I can say that we've really decreased travel this past year. In fact, our team now is looking at ways we can get online, virtual professional development, as well as bring people in from off island, and they can train more people. We've done that this year. Over the summer, we did not send any one of our teachers out, except for one, to open up an AP program. But last week, we did have an online virtual professional development that a lot of our teachers attended, and that was delivered online at no cost.
Thank you for that. That's very good to hear that your PSS team are being creative now and trying to use online and safe and continue this program in trying to provide that professional development for your staff and teachers. So with that, I now yield to the Madam Floor Leader for her questions.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, PSS, for being here. Acting Commissioner, I'm just going to start off first with an opening remark and then get into my questions. And maybe it's because I'm a woman that I'm feeling a little bit more empathy and a little bit disheartened. And if I end up crying, it's because I understand what that means as a parent, to shortchange a pupil, especially, and I'll get into that, when you're talking about marginalized, but most especially individuals with disabilities. I am a mother of an adult who is a product of the public school system, only because if I enrolled her in a private school system, I would have to pay out of pocket for the services that she needed. That was an injustice, but that is something that the CNMI cannot control. So, you are here today to defend why supporting PSS matters. The Ways and Means analysis confirms that both scenarios cut PSS by more than 14.7 million below your request and produce the same results. 34 lost instructional days and a 64-hour work schedule for every teacher and staff member in that system. The legislature has a constitutional duty. It's not discretionary. It is a constitutional duty to fund public education. And you guys are that platform. I would like for you to tell this committee, and through the record, tell the people of the Commonwealth what is at stake if we do not find better. So with that said, the legislature has heard the numbers, and I've said it in the beginning statement, but we need to hear from you today. What is the human cost? We talk about cutting travel. We talk about all of this, which is internal. That affects the teacher and their performance, the degrees they worked hard for to get that pay that they deserve. But we're not talking about the kids. So in plain language, and not budget projections, what does a 146-day school year and a 64-hour work week mean for a child in Rhoda, a child in Tinian, and a child in Saipan's most underserved neighborhoods, including those with special needs? Tell me how this affects these children. That's what I want to know, because we have a constitutional duty to support education. That doesn't mean supporting only the teachers. That's second. First priority is students. Tell me and tell the people and tell this committee, what does that mean?
Thank you, Congresswoman Flores, and for your advocacy as well. I think the president of our PAC, Grace, explained it very, very clearly. And I thank her for her courage stepping up here. We have students, 8,000 public school students this year, and maybe counting. These are kids who have gone through Typhoon U2, they've gone through COVID, they've gone through hybrid learning, they've gone through Austerity Monday where there is no school, and then they've gone through 2 back-to-back super typhoons this summer. All of that is compounded. Right? This summer, we've had 2 school break-ins because kids had nowhere to go. They broke into a classroom just to find snacks, just to hang out, because there was nothing else to do. I visited Rhoda and Tinian yesterday and the other day before. And these kids, right, we mentioned they're our future. 4 days a week, possibly 3 days a week. That's 2 days without socialization, free meals, instruction. Even, I think we can all say here that, again, everyone here is an advocate for education. But what does it mean when we shortchange our kids? And we've been shortchanging them for years, right? In the US, the per pupil allocation, what they invest, what the state invests in every child The average is $17,000 per kid, not including federal. But in the CNMI, our allocation per kid, per student, is $5,000, not $17,000. But we're doing our very best, right? We're doing our very best. But our kids deserve the full 5 days. They deserve to go into classroom. Our parents deserve that too. 4 days a week, 3 days a week, unthinkable. And if we say, we've heard it many times, people saying, go online. Imagine a 7-year-old kid trying to go online and learn, right? They deserve to be in the classroom. So thank you, Representative Flores, for sharing what is the human cost. And we're seeing it, right? We've invested a lot of money in our kids 4 years ago, 3 years ago with ARPA. And we were seeing the gains. They were going to school 5 days a week. We were seeing huge gains in math, literacy, different content areas. Now they're losing so much, right? And not only are we talking about academics, we're talking about behavioral issues, mental health issues. It's compounding. So I really urge this body to support PSS as you've always done, but also it's a constitutional mandate. We're not a discretionary program. We're not a supplemental program. PSS should be non-negotiable. Thank you.
And I think when you say that, Commissioner, it's the students are non-negotiable. It's not PSS.
Exactly, students.
And that's the important part. And I think that's the message that we're missing. We're using words to describe something, but we're not really describing what that is. And what that is the students. And I'm going to keep going forward because it's going to come down to eventually NMC. Special education students, Head Start children, and students with individualized education programs have federal rights that do not diminish because the local budget is under pressure. Under IDEA, PSS is legally required to provide a free and appropriate public education to every eligible student, regardless of funding constraints. How many students do you have currently throughout the Commonwealth in special education, Ms. Flores?
Thank you, Representative Flores and members of this committee. As of yesterday, we are happy to have 1,034 students with IEPs joining our public school system. So that's about 13% of our total student population right now.
Thank you, Ms. Flores, for that. And how does PSS intend to meet its federal legal obligations to these students under either scenario? And what happens legally if it cannot?
As the acting commissioner did share, first of all, students with disabilities are general ed students first, and I assume everybody knows that already. But in order for them to access public education through FAPE, they are evaluated, deemed eligible for services based on their disability and their access to general ed through special ed. So what we do is we follow, the first thing the feds ask us is, what is your school district doing with the general ed kids? Mm-hmm. And then we follow suit. However, any further reduction, of course, will generally impact our children who are already struggling and need certain accommodations to their, their schooling, to their instructional services. Mm-hmm. So it is, we're gonna have to be creative, as we always are, in finding ways to get these kids who will, and I would like to add on to that, regress. Regression is top tier, not just for SPED kids in the program, but for kids who are already struggling, and even for kids who are probably doing well. Mm-hmm. Just that inability to get that instructional service that they're entitled to mm-hmm. Will have a detrimental impact to their overall educational journey. So, that's why IDEA provides this supplemental federal funds to us when we apply for it every year, because it will first ask us through our maintenance of financial support for us to attest, to certify that the state is providing a certain amount to our students with disabilities in lieu of any other support. So through that MFS that we certify through our grant application every year, we are certifying that a certain amount, which does not lower, but may increase, is dedicated to students with disabilities, sans a federal leverage, right? So, and that helps determine what we get in funds to support that local amount. So, you know, it's gonna have an adverse effect on our students because, like the acting commissioner said, behavior will become an issue. If that's an issue for all kids, what more a kid who's already struggling and has dysregulation and, you know, is having a difficult time interacting with people for that matter. So it'll also affect child abuse reporting, our CAN reports. I remember one year during COVID, we had 0 reporting. And at first we were like, wow, what's that? But it was a complete turnaround because the kid didn't have, you know, a supporting individual adult to report the abuse to. But when school came back in, boom, you know, we saw it all came back. It's very important, you know, those are the human sides to it. We can talk about dollars and, you know, education's very important. I'm not trying to dismiss anything. But the socialization, the meals that Congressman Roy Atta alluded to, just those, the child abuse and neglect reporting that our PAC president spoke of as well, our students who are already struggling with whatever mental health, special needs, whatever it is that is impacting them, those things are supported through the public education. So yeah, there will be an adverse impact to it. Regression will happen. And then we keep rebuilding it when we come back in on Tuesday from a long weekend because of austerity or whatever reasons. But every day is critical to all our students.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. And again, I want to paint the picture because we keep talking about all of this funding, right? The governor needs funding, legislature, judiciary needs, everyone needs funding. But this is a constitutional mandate, and we should not have a discussion about what we can and cannot support. The Constitution is very clear. Public health, public safety, education, doesn't matter. This body we took an oath to protect that at all costs. And that's why I'm trying to paint this picture, because the people need to understand that if one is gonna suffer, we have to make that decision. But everyone else must understand what is at risk when you're talking about public education. That's children, first and foremost. So both scenarios reduce PSS to 146 instructional days, a loss from the standard 180-day calendar. Commissioner, have you had a conversation with the governor or anyone in the governor's team about the repercussions of the reduction of days that PSS will be providing instructional days to students? And if so, has the governor considered a declaration of state of emergency? Because federal funds will be subjected to either a loss or suspension.
Thank you, Congresswoman. We have shared that, and former Commissioner Dr. Camacho has shared that with the governor. As far as a declaration, we have not talked about that, although the board did share that they would consider if we get to that point.
Okay, and I hope that you guys are flagging some timelines because that's important. So we're going to go back again at the human costs. Who is in charge of collecting data within the public school system?
everyone collects data, but if we're looking at one central office department, that would be the Office of Accountability, Research, and Evaluation.
Okay. And that would be Ms. Bonnie?
Yes,
Ms.
Dr. Bonnie.
I can direct my questions. For fiscal year or school year 2025, can you give me the total number of students that you lost through suicide?
Thank you, Floor Leader. Sorry, I had to take a breath. First of all, if I may, I just want to thank you and the body for this conversation. Been in the public school system for so many years, and I feel like today, this morning, is the first time that we're having a fruitful discussion about kids. A lot of times we come and we talk about things that are incongruent. You're talking about money, we're talking about kids. And today we're talking about our children, so thank you. I was transferred to the Office of Accountability last school year. The Office of Student Support Services supports the suicide prevention program for the community. We don't get all the information when students complete suicide. We may get hearsay from the community. We may get information from families. We definitely will get information from schools. But we always try to honor the families and wait for their consent before we are able to share with our school families. On the top of my head, last school year, not being at Student and Support Services, we had at least one that we know of, and one that was not confirmed.
Okay.
But we do provide grief services when families provide consent.
Okay, and they would have to go through your counselors. We're hoping that they seek counseling within the public school system before anything happens, correct? And the teacher should be able to identify if a child is at risk. Is that right?
If the family provides consent, then we do provide supports to the entire school family and the students.
All right, so with that said, and again, I'm trying to paint this picture of the human costs. Do you collect data on the children who have been removed from their house and now who are now in the ward or in the custody of the state?
We collect data on suspected child abuse and neglect. We collect data on suspected child abuse and neglect. We also, in that recording, collect data on how many blue cards are provided to the schools, which means that DPS has possibly launched investigations. And we collect information on whether or not the children that have been reported, or the children on behalf of the reports, already have a caseworker. But the public school system, every single employee is a mandated reporter.
Okay.
We work with our partner agencies, DPS, DYS, and the AG's office, and we each have specific roles in child abuse and neglect supports. So we are mandated reporters. That's where the reporting ends. We collect that data, and we work with our counselors on wraparound services. Then DYS and DPS do the investigations. So we may not always get information on whether or not these children were in foster care, placed in foster care, or have a caseworker, unless we are provided that information.
Okay, so if a student came to a counselor or to their teacher and said, "I'm being sexually assaulted by my father," do you collect that data, yes or no?
Absolutely.
So do you have any data between fiscal year 2025, 2024, and 2026?
Yes, we actually.
I'd like to hear that, please.
We have trend data from 2023-24 school year
Okay.
to August.
Okay, can you give me that cumulative number?
In 2023-24, we have 59 reports, and just in last August, we're at 42. So school ended in April. Every time school ends, we wonder if our kids are going to eat and whether or not they're safe. And so 42 is a rather low number. We know that most of the time we get low numbers, such as the time when we had the pandemic, because kids are not with trusted adults and there's nobody to report for them.
And I'm assuming local funds help support that, does it?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. And so it would be detrimental, almost crucial, if we don't provide any support to public school system, because then we can actually openly say to the public that we are now returning these children on your data collection back to their perpetrator. Is that right?
We are not providing the safe spaces that they need when we close our school doors.
Okay.
We may be putting them in danger.
At risk.
At risk.
Thank you. And so, who would have the data? Because we know now that we're being threatened with a 64-hour work week, and we know a lot of our students go to public school. By a show of hands in here, how many of us have a student, a grandchild, or anyone in the public school system currently? That's a lot of us in here. Who collects the data from the transition from private to public school? Who captures that? Do we know? Because on the new enrollees.
The Office of ARE collects the data on enrollment.
Okay. Did you see an increase for this school year from private to public school?
We don't have that data, but we can put it together for you. We do see a decrease overall.
Okay, thank you. And the assumption is that there are mass exodus because we cannot even sustain our own people. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Pangilinan. And I'm going to get to the connection between public school and as we exit out. So 0 to 3 is federally funded through the Head Start program. Is that correct? 0 to 3 years old?
That's a early. It's birth to 5.
Birth to 3?
Birth to
Okay.
5.
So we know that they're protected. They've got the safeguards. They've got the supports. Then you have 4 to 18, which is now the big portion and the big number for public school system, right? You take away the 0 to 3 because we've now known that there's a decrease of childbirth for certain ethnicities, but we haven't collected the childbirth for the local residents, right? So we know that there's a drop. But when you're talking about 4 to 18, this is now public school system. This is the children that we keep coming back here every year trying to say, please support us. And that's a problem, right? Then from 19 to 54, you take these SPED kids too, or these individuals with disabilities, okay? Like my daughter, and maybe someone who fell, lost a hip, whatever that is. That's a different group that might not have much supports, right? We're still trying to figure that out. But then you have the 55 and the retirees, 100% fully supported. So we're not doing something right because holistically we're not supporting everybody. And that might come down to the economy. So last school year, how many people graduated through the public school system?
I can pull those numbers and provide them to you. I don't have them on the top of my head.
All right, thank you. And so we know that NMC also receives tourist visas for these children or these adults that want to come to the Commonwealth to get their degrees in whatever NMC has to offer. And we take care of them greatly. Post-secondary is so important. But trade and the population, which is our students here, don't get those same supports. That's not balance, and that is not meeting our constitutional mandate. When they transition over to NMC, do you collect the data on how many students, or would this be an NMC number? How many students graduated from PSS and went straight into post-secondary with the Northern Marianas College. Will you have that data?
We do. We have a survey that goes out, and I can prepare that for the body.
Thank you. And with that data, can you also give me how many students transition from special ed to NMC or NMTI, if that's possible? Ms. Pangilinan?
So the data that we have from the exit survey shows the college, the trades, students who are working full-time after graduation, apprenticeships, military, and other. We are actually requesting or preparing a purchase order to collect the raw data,
Okay.
because we don't have the raw data from the provider,
Okay.
LifeTrack.
All right. So I guess my last question before I yield and give my colleagues the opportunity, and because it's almost lunchtime, I'll just ask one last question. Do you collect the data on Okay, I'll take that back. I believe that investing in the children of this Commonwealth is not just a constitutional obligation, it's the single most important economic development decision we can make. Northern Marianas College can be fully resourced, or is fully resourced, with a lot of the funds that is appropriated. Maybe not all, but some. But we still tend to forget about us, the ones that never left, the ones that will and probably never leave because they can't afford to go anywhere. So we have to establish and build this for our people. If we cut PSS today, what specific programs or degree pathways at NMC are most at risk, really, from the diminished local student pipeline? If we don't support you now, what happens?
If we're thinking about the degrees at the college, like business, education, nursing, they all require math, right? And the basic content area is English. Our children, even before, I used to work for NMC. Once they enter the college and they did not get the appropriate amount of let's say, instruction, right, in these different content areas, and they enter NMC, and they don't place at the level they should be placing, college level, it would mean that they would have to start and may need more than 2 years to complete an associate, may need more than 4 years to complete a bachelor. If we do not invest in the foundation, and that is PSS, then we're also we're shortchanging our kids because they may not be able to complete on time at the college. They may drop out. And all these pathways, right, they're really meant to fill the gap in our economy. We have a shortage of nurses, entrepreneurs, right? Teachers, we're pretty good because a lot of our students from NMC, they do come back to PSS to teach. But we're noticing, though, that if we do not invest in the foundation, then also NMC is also impacted because they would have to spend more money, right, to educate our kids. So.
And last question, Commissioner, what is the student ratio of student-teacher ratio for this school year?
It varies by the levels. So I believe it's 25. Is it 25 to 1 at elementary, and then 23 to 1, or is it 20 to 1? Yeah, for kindergarten is how many? 20 to 1 for kindergarten, elementary is 25 to 1.
So would you say it's a fair assumption that private school education is way better than a public school education?
I wouldn't say a private school education is better than a public education.
But they get a lot of supports from endowment when PSS doesn't get any support at all. We're
Yeah.
talking about cutting you guys every year. Would it be safe to say that a private education is much better to receive than a public school education, because we cannot continue to fund you every single year? You come back asking for the money that you deserve, not more. But you're going to have to settle for less if we can't decide. Is that right?
At least with a private education, right now, they're getting 5 days of school.
Thank
Whereas
you.
here at public school, it's 4 days.
And that's unfortunate.
Yes.
But luckily for those who are enrolled in private school, because you can afford it. And that's not a constitutional mandate, that's a choice. This is a constitutional mandate when we have to support the public school system because of the children. And that they are the system. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Floor Leader. Before we ask move on with any other questions, would PSS be open to coming back after lunch so you guys can get some food?
I think we can power through.
You sure?
We've powered through many times, so.
Okay, so I
Yes.
recognize Rep. Yanktamai, please. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and welcome to all. I think I have only one question now, because two have been answered. So, but first of all, thank you for the repair on what do you call that? The veranda or the extension at Oliai Elementary School. Yes, at last. Okay, so. And the other one was supposed to be repair on the solar panels. So you're getting that done, right? Or they're not damaged? That will really help out with the utilities, the solar panels, no? That was asked by Rep. Angelo. And the other one also, the student-teacher ratio or teacher-student ratio. That's good. It went down to 25. He was asking me how many during my time. It goes up to 35 students. That was like, yes, headache. And the other one, so I guess the only one I will ask is bilingual. How are we with bilingual? Do they have their own separate rooms, or are they still doing the roaming thing? And sorry, so is it only in elementary? Do we have him in middle school and high school also? The bilingual classes. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Congresswoman Yanktamai. So our CCLHS program right now, to my knowledge, at the school levels, we have some that have their own classrooms. And with the recent conditions of our building, some of our CCLHS teachers would have to rove around into different classes at certain times of the day in order to accommodate all of our students and provide the CCLHS instructions to each of our students in elementary, middle school. And we have all of our high school had, including DAOC, had a CCLHS instructor. We just recently lost a DAOC instructor, but as of right now, we were able to offer both Chamorro and Caroline across elementary, middle school, and in the high school.
Okay. Oh, sorry, just one. For the high school, is it online, still online, or classroom setting?
Both.
All right, thank you. That's all. Vice Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Denita. Any other members? Let me recognize first Rep. TJ, and then after Rep. Ralph Yuma. Please proceed, Rep. TJ.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you all again for coming here today, and for all that you do for our children. Just know that doesn't go unnoticed. I know that I can speak for pretty much everyone here that we do want to work together and give you guys all the resources that you need to obviously take care of our children. That's like our floor leader mentioned. that is the most important thing that we're talking about right now. And it's a little bit off course of the budget, but again, I'd be remiss not to mention this, as it's something that I do observe, just being in the community. And I think it's one thing that the storm really kind of brought to light. It's, the lack of data that we have for those individuals that are really underserved, right? And we mentioned the meals, and some of these people don't have transportation. You mentioned that. Now, do you guys have any data on those students that don't have any form of transportation, just in general to school? Or you guys have anything like that currently?
We have data on our students, whether they walk to school, whether they are car riders, or whether they're provided transportation through the Office of Pupil Trans.
So those children that don't have transportation, is there any way that we can work together to address those gaps? I mean, I myself, have seen kids walking out in the rain, and I try my best to, give them rides when I can. But that also, it's it does break my heart too to see that. And I'm not blaming that on anyone. I'm just saying that, obviously us as leaders, we need to work together to address these gaps, whether it's through volunteers, whether it's through nonprofit organizations, CODA, even ourselves. If I had more data on that, if I knew, kind of more of the situation on that, then I'd also be willing to help, give some of these kids rides, because I saw it too, right? When you guys were giving out meals during the summer program, kids walking. Sometimes parents are sick, they can't walk their kids there, and a lot of these kids depend on those meals. So if there's a way that we could work together to address those gaps, my office is always open. I'm pretty sure all of us would be willing to help with that. But again, if we're talking about the kids that are the most underserved, especially in, our Cagman, the Precinct 5 community, there's a lot of families that are, that are really underserved. So, and I understand it's a short distance to walk, from their houses to their schools. But I mean, again, in cases where it's raining, when it's, when it's hot, parents can't be the ones to take their kids there. I felt the need to at least bring that up and to see what we can do to address those gaps. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. We can certainly do that, be more intentional with the data that we have, and leaning into our partners, yourself included, to find ways that we can support our community. We do have the data on how many students receive meals, and oftentimes there might be several meals left, right? But being very intentional and saying, okay, which kid did not receive a meal? Is there a way we can deliver that, or work with our representatives in different precincts to have that delivered? But I understand where you're coming from, and that is something that the team, key management has talked about several times, just looking at the data and seeing how we could intervene and provide more supports and more wraparound services for our kids.
Thank you, guys. And again, thank you for all that you're doing. And I hope that we can get you to that figure that will, at least get you guys through, and at least make sure our kids are taken care of. So thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you, Rep. DJ. Chair recognizes Rep. Ralph Yumo.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a clarifying question, because 64 hours is kind of tough to swallow with our school system. So I did ask my the analyst, the 72 hours is it correct? 41.3. We need to be at 41 point roughly 3 million to get to 72 hours. Is that correct? I think Rep. Ato got us to 39, right, or something like that. So if we can go up a couple of more millions, I think we can reappropriate some funds, or at least move around, right. So at 41.3, I think we're very close to getting that number, and would that still be at 100 or how many days? I forgot. 140 some days of school, is that correct? 146.
162.
Oh, that will get us to 162.
72 hours, 41 million.
Okay, so that will get us to 162 days
Mhm.
of school. Okay. That's it. With regards to CAGMAN, I believe Rep. Angelo already found $1 million, right? That he can
Thank you,
fund
Rep.
the transformer. Is that something you're considering, or?
Thank you.
100,000, I guess that is. So maybe a reappropriation would help out CAGMAN High School. That's a lot taking out of your operation to fund the transformer. But yeah, thank you for that clarification. I just want to, I'm more realistically looking at the 72-hour work schedule because of the big difference, and I think we can move funds around if I can convince other members. I only speak for myself, but there's 20 of us that I need to convince, but we'll get there. So that's something maybe a little positive, but it's a step up and getting us. Anything more than 41 would help a lot. But yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Representative Ralph. You will recognize Representative Juliogo. Then
Thank you, Chairman. You mentioned earlier, first of all, thank you for joining us today for that hearing. Acting Commissioner Jay, you mentioned that you were in Rhoda last week or 2 weeks ago. And would you be able to share some of their priorities or challenges, for the Rhoda school, PSS school?
Thank you, Congressman Julie. So, a couple days after Sinlaku, there was a small team from PSS that flew over to Rhoda to provide relief items for our PSS staff. Oh, not Sinlaku, Bavi. It's looking like the same now. And just yesterday, or 2 days ago, I did visit Rhoda again to meet with our staff from Sinapalo and RHI over Coffee Connection. And although it was just beautiful to see staff there, they were very upbeat for the new school year. It didn't seem like they were impacted, and I think that's just the beauty of people in Rhoda, right? A lot of them did not have power, but they all showed up to Coffee Connection. They drove down from Sinapalo to RHI to meet with me over coffee and pastries. And a big issue for them is just a power issue. They did say that they did put a request in for some EcoFlow, some backup batteries, because they did say it's very hot in the classroom, although they're very thankful that FEMA did support them with a generator. That's one. Number two, one issue is staffing shortage, not being able to fill different positions in Rhoda. That's a big issue for them. But overall, the spirit is very high. They opened up school. I want to commend both principals and their teams because they could have extended the opening. We would have exempted them from opening yesterday and said, we could push you back 1 more month. But they rallied and they made sure that they opened up, even if it's half day. Kids are back.
Can you provide me the number of students enrolled and if there's any major drop in enrollment?
We can certainly do that. The team and I have put in some of the requests that this body has made, so we can provide that. If not by tomorrow, then by the end of the week, just on some data and maybe some movements. If there's a decrease in enrollment for both schools, we could do that.
And also, can you include if there's any number of teachers, that resign
Okay.
or contract expired
Yes.
and so forth?
Let me backtrack to the enrollment. The numbers are not confirmed yet because people are still registering, but we can certainly provide you the number of staff that have resigned or have shared that they will be resigning soon.
Okay, that's very important because I would like to
Yeah.
see the student-teacher ratio per classroom. And I think, if you don't mind providing that information, Chairman, to the
let it
body.
be an official request by this
Okay.
August body.
Thank you. Will do.
Representative Ogo, recognize Representative Angelo Camacho.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I guess this is just for clarity. Rep. Yumo kind of made me rethink this, and I know that the question was posed earlier with regards to the 39.3. I guess the question was asked if that was enough to sustain the 80 hours biweekly, and the response was yes. But as I'm looking at the scenarios up in the screen, it's still requesting for 44, so I'm kind of confused here. Is that the number we're trying to target to remain at 80 hours, or can you operate at 39.3 for 80 hours?
I can clarify. So the 39.3 is just personnel. So
Not
if we're
including
going,
school operation days?
not including operations,
So
for
that's still the 4 days, correct?
it's yes, the 180 days,
Okay.
the 80 hours.
All right. Okay, thank you for that. And then Rep. Yumo mentioned that Precinct 5 has 1 million. I don't know where he got that number, but it's pretty less than. But I just want to throw it out there that if there is any assistance that you guys need within the schools, right, for these kind of situations, please don't hesitate to come and, meet with us to see how we can assist, because we're more than willing to assist, especially, for our children. With that being said, I hope to meet after this meeting and to kind of talk about figures and see how, Representative TJ and I can help within our community, our school districts in our community. We do have some funding to assist in whatever needs. Again, bring up that earlier situation with regards to the traffic. I found out that it was a transformer issue. So again, if you guys are short, we can maybe perhaps cover the shortfall. And then I guess, again, since you guys are here, I wanted to ask with regards to the bus shelters. I know that you guys had placed signages on each shelter, so I'm assuming that falls on under PSS property, if I'm not mistaken, or I could be wrong. But who does the repairs for damages? Would it be the government or
Government, Public Works, for the bus shelters, yes.
All right, thank you. I guess that's all I have for now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Angelo Camacho. Madam Commissioner, there is a pending, and I know I've spoken to you and as well as Ms. Flores about a pending appropriation legislation that's sitting perhaps with the committee, this committee and the Committee on Cannabis with regards to those cannabis funds appropriated. We haven't gotten any correspondence if there's any adverse impact from your grantors, your federal grantors. Is that still an open conversation with your grantors, or there was no response from your guys' request?
There was a response, and I'll be providing an official memo to you by the end of today.
Okay, thank you, because any small appropriation heading to PSS is a plus for PSS to get to reach to its comfort appropriation level, and the earlier that you guys can submit that, since that appropriation is still pending in the House, we can greatly refer it to the committee so that we can decide upon it. For further questions, Madam Floor Leader.
Thank you, Chairman. And just to follow up on Rep. Angelo's comment, I wish I had that ability to say that, talk to me and I can give you money, because, man, I wish I had those kinds of connections. But, we're all here to serve the precinct in which we represent, but most especially the Commonwealth as a whole. So I'll make sure I'll bombard one of those meetings where he has an appropriation to appropriate to Marianas High School and all the schools in Precinct 3. You talk about this, all 972 local FTEs filled at 52 million. Does this include, are you talking about this one here? FTEs local?
I believe so. These are the vacancies from prior to April.
Okay, and that's the ones that you are addressing here. And then the 44,835 field FTEs, where's that variance? Who's impacted?
Those are the current employees that we have as of April of this year.
Got you. And just another question, you mentioned something about, external funds. Is the Department of Interior working with you for any external funding supports?
We have applied for the MAP and TAP grants, and we have not received notice whether we were awarded. But prior year, we did get both awards.
Okay. I'm assuming also, have you been in contact with Mr. Epi Cabrera in terms of grant funding cycles that maybe PSS might be eligible for, or might help PSS in some of these areas where you're falling short in terms of student advancement?
Unfortunately not, but that is an area that we are working towards, having a better partnership with OGM.
Okay. And I'm going to ask a question in regard to any of your grants. Do you guys hold on to the indirect costs?
We do.
Okay. And the indirect cost is used to pay what exactly?
The indirect cost is used to pay for the overhead administration,
Okay.
and I'll go into that more specifically. The funds pay for staff under the federal programs office, a couple staff across the district, including one staff at the finance department. It does pay for a portion of Tyler Munis and the audit every year.
Okay, so you have to pay Department of Finance for your Tyler Munis system. Is that right? And how
Yes.
much do you pay them?
300,000
A year?
That's it. Annual.
Okay. And that goes to pay for the membership, do you know? What is it used for? Do you just allocate 300,000 to the Department of Finance?
It pays for the annual license.
Got you. Okay. And how much in external funds are you anticipating to receive from the Department of Interior?
We are looking at, I'm trying to remember the application that was submitted. Under $400,000 from DOI.
And so my last, I guess, comment and question again goes back to Rep. Angelo, how we're, SNILD has appropriation powers, and I guess there's other areas where we can appropriate from. I'm not sure yet where that is, but I'm gonna ask questions and hopefully tap into that cookie jar as well. Some of us had in our offices had provided some operational supplies to the schools in efforts to help ease the burden on PSS in terms of buying the supplies for the kids, like toilet paper, some other school supplies and needs. Each school pays for their own operational supplies?
Each school does get an allocation for operations, yes.
And that is out of this budget?
Out of this budget.
Okay. And do you spread that out based on student enrollment? How do you?
Yes.
What's the methodology to that?
Based on student enrollment, and that gets split up.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So it doesn't, page 74 of your pamphlet, schools are to be allocated funds to support their daily operation on a per pupil basis on a scaling rate. MHS enrollment 1,566. Rate per pupil is, I'm assuming this is a dollar amount?
Correct.
Okay. And then you have Gregorio T, Tanapak Chacha, Francisco Sablon and Tinian, I'm sorry, Francisco Sablon at $105 per pupil?
Correct.
Okay. So why is, explain to me, because I'm ignorant when it comes to this methodology that you have. You have certain areas at $85, certain schools at $95, and certain schools at $105. Can you make me understand that and make this body understand how you came up with that?
Sure. It was to try to provide equity as much as possible so that all the schools can receive an allocation to allow to support their operations. In my experience in the finance department, this was a practice that has been done previously. But then I also looked at their prior expenditure, seeing what they had expended the prior 2 years to see if it matched or supported the allocation based on this. So if as we were running the scenarios to see what the right rate should be, we based it on their prior actual to see if it'll be in line to support or the continuing operations.
Okay, so can you further expand on what you mean then by daily operations? Does that include, what does that include?
It includes the funding for, let's say, tissue, cleaning services. Mostly it goes towards those essential cleaning services, security services if needed. Let's see. It's operational, non-instructional for the most part, and then also office supplies.
Okay. So when you say flat rate for, let's say, Dr. Rita Enos High School, what's that flat rate? Is there a rate or just says flat rate?
It's the 30,000.
Okay, that's it?
Yes.
And none of this is paid for by federal funds?
No.
So special needs students have a different methodology when it comes down to per pupil?
It's based on all students.
Okay.
Yes.
Got you. Okay, thank you. I yield my time, Chairman. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Floor. Madam Commissioner, you mentioned earlier that the total federal assistance that you're expected to receive in this fiscal year is in the tune of 120 million. And earlier there was a line of question by Madam Floor Leader with regards to indirect costs. So out of this 120 million of federal assistance, how much is the totality of indirect costs are you getting derived out of this federal grants assistance?
So the rate, I would say, is around 3.5%.
3.5% is the
3.5%,
calculation?
yes,
Of the
but-
40% or?
But there's a methodology to pull the indirect cost, so it's not 3.5% out of the entire grant, right?
Okay.
It has to be 3.5%, not including the contracts that are being expended under the grant.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit complicated to explain how we pull, but in a regular year, we would pull around, I would say, maybe close to $1 million. Could be
So
close to $1 million. but-
$1 million
Yeah.
in totality of indirect costs,
Yeah.
right? And out of that 1 million, you mentioned again earlier that you have dedicated 300 for the munis. What are the breakdowns?
So-
Because the reason why I'm asking this, Madam Commissioner, is that the indirect costs, I believe we can localize it, right? It's flexible. And we can like kind of shift that indirect cost and kind of use it for personal, perhaps, if you can justify, and maybe go back to your grantors and kind of look for grants that can pay that annually fee of the munis, so that's dedicated and you're redirecting the indirect cost, which is flexible, and it can use and localize it.
Yeah, definitely. So the cost for the munis would be around $300,000, and then for the audit, around 100 some K per year, $100,000 per year.
Okay, that brings us to
Yeah.
400,000.
And then there's personnel also that's covered under the indirect cost. These are folks who are managing multiple grants for the district and also managing the budget for these grants.
Okay,
That-
so aside from the munis and the audits, audits annually, the rest goes to personnel.
Personnel,
So you're
yeah.
already localizing
Yeah,
it and you're
yeah.
using it as we move forward.
Yes.
Okay.
But I do want to assure you that we are working very hard and wanting to negotiate better for a higher rate because the 3.5% for the CNMI under PSS is such a low rate compared with in Guam where it's close to 10% that they're
What's
pulling.
the process to kind of appeal to
Yeah.
get a better rate?
Yeah, so
for
we have to
indirect costs?
pull the financial statements from audit, different schedules, and then we negotiate with our cognizant agency, whether that be with Department of Education or DOI. Unfortunately, over the past few years, we have not gotten a rate higher than 5. And that's because the CNMI, the public school system, has been very dependent on federal over local for so many years. We were able to pull 3.5 against ARPA, but unfortunately that is gone, so we're not able to pull as much as we
Okay.
did before.
Okay. Are we different with regards to our neighboring islands like Guam?
Very different.
With indirect costs?
Very different, yes.
What is their rate?
Their rate, last I've seen was close to 10%.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And the chair will yield now to the vice chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you again, Commissioner, and to your team. The $3.8 million for these employees that have separated from PSS, are those monies, wait, let me retract. Are you guys getting your monies from the central government? Is it up to level to date?
Yes.
Okay, so that $3.8 million from these 137 employees that have left PSS, are those money in a holding account, or are you using those monies right now?
For the most part, those employees have worked through the entire school year. So, and since a number of them are classroom teachers, they're entitled to their entire pay because the summer pay is part of their
Sure,
contract. Yes.
For the others, though, because you only have 47 that are teachers, the remaining monies, is that a contractual buyout, or are the monies in the account? Or are they using up leave?
It depends. So if there's any obligations on PSS side, like the annual leave payout, but if depending on when they separate, whatever that their separation date is, the gap between the end of the fiscal year to their final day, that I guess is not going to be expended for that purpose.
Sure. With that being said, on a just rough off the top of your head of the $3.8 million, how much of that would be left?
I would not say more than 20%.
So about a couple hundred
I
thousand.
need to look into it, but yeah.
So let's say $400,000, right?
Yeah, because the other staff who may not be included in that number, because if it's just isolating 47 teachers, other staff, instructional staff like counselors, librarians, teacher aides, they also fall under that category where they're entitled to their entire pay if they complete their contract.
Can we run those numbers since you already have a last date, right, for the employees?
Yes.
The effective date of resignation and
Yes.
whatever cost that you have to pay out for them. We
Yes.
can run those numbers, but we're just throwing $400,000 right now. So under scenario one, the 37.5 million, within that number, there's $3.8 million that's already flexible because of the 137 employees, right?
I can't say that. I can't confirm the full number because I don't know when they separated.
No. For FY27.
Oh, okay.
On
so-
scenario one, there's 37.5.
Yes.
And within the 37.5, roughly about 3.8 is free because 137 employees are not going to be paid already.
Yes, and that I think will be also contingent upon, because we are, I think, anticipating to not fail if we have to, if we're, we cannot afford it, so we will not fail. But of course, it comes to the sacrifice at the school level, especially if they are going to continue to operate without filling a
Sure,
position.
but that's built in right now. That
Yes.
$3.8 million
Yes.
is open.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So if we do add the audit portion of it under scenario 1 at 2.7 plus the $600,000 of restricted monies that we're gonna open up for PSS to utilize, we're looking at 40,959,119. Right?
It seems like it.
Right? So if we add based on the 20% at about roughly $400,000 to carry over for FY27 of what the savings is from the 137 employees that left PSS because they're not at a cost to PSS this current fiscal year, that's at 41 plus million dollars under scenario 1.
I mean, just in conversation, it seems like it, yes.
Right? So we're just trying to push the numbers
Yes,
up
yes.
so we have a picture that we're moving the numbers up. What would that cover based on what you saw up there from PSS's total cost? Because there's numbers that are thrown out that 80 hours is going to be taken care of at 40 plus million dollars and so on and so forth. So at least we can get closer to our real target and be reminded that that 3.8 is still open funds within the 37 million.
I believe so.
So at least we're getting somewhere.
Yes.
To get to the target number, and this is already beyond the hard number of 37 that acting commissioner in a previous meeting said was a hard number. So we're $3+ million above the hard number right now. Right?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
So the 37 million, that was the hard number that acting commissioner when in a previous meeting said was the hard number.
Yes.
So now we're at 40 under scenario 1 with the 2.7 and the 600,000 of flexibility, and in addition to that, that's 40,959,119 plus the potential $400,000 of carryover from FY26. We're looking at 41+ million dollars.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And CFO, can we run those numbers that have based on the request on 137 employees separating from PSS? We're just trying to so that we can see there's a hard number that we can carry over to FY27 for PSS rather than going back to the drawing board and moving those monies so that it's already with you guys. Use it for FY27.
Noted.
Vice, if you could give us some additional time to put this calculation together, but also, would we have flexibility to carry over this current fiscal year's funds to the following year?
We're doing it already with the 2.767 based on the audit, right? And in the Constitution, it states that PSS can carry over the funds that was appropriate to them within the fiscal year.
Noted.
Noted. Unless you want to open it up and allow and only take 25% of the 2.7 million.
We would go for the most beneficial route. Yeah. Just wanted to make that very clear, especially with the Senate not allowing us to do that.
With OMB? Notwithstanding provision will cover stuff. I guess at the end of the day, please run those numbers so at least we know what we're working with, and we can see how we can get closer to the bigger number.
Yeah, we will definitely do that. I'm not too confident with the numbers not the numbers we shared, but the responses back and forth regarding these numbers. But if you could give us additional 1-2 days, we can give you a better figure to work out of. Also, in addition to the 3.8 million that you were referring to. And if we can get as close as possible to the 44, even at 41, that would be a huge relief for the district.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Vice. And Chair will take one or two more questions, and then we'll move to adjourn. Let me, for the first time, let me recognize Representative Joe Flores.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner, for coming your team to regarding budget. This is just a clarification question actually from was brought up from Angelo regarding bus stops. You mentioned that the bus stops are being repaired by DPWs.
Sir, yes, sir.
So, in order for DPW to repair or to erect a bus stop, who tells them where to put the bus stops?
If I may, so with the bus stop program that we have, it's right now with regards to repair, it's still really a question as who has authority and whose jurisdiction it is to do the repairs. In the past, DPW has done some repairs to the bus stops. PSS, we do not own the bus stops. It is not on PSS property. The only part that PSS plays when it comes to identifying bus stops is the location, and that is determined based on enrollment and the demographics of the village. So PSS, we identify the location for the bus stop. We put the sign there, and then we open it. We go out to the Rotary Club, and we reach out to different organizations, government. We have several legislature that have taken on projects, former legislature that have also built bus stops. It's open to whoever can build a bus stop, and then we tell them where the locations are available, and then from there they would usually communicate with DPW to get the building permit if required, depending on what they plan to erect, and then go through the whole permitting process.
Okay. The reason why I ask is that there's so many bus stop stations that's out there. If you look at it for one example, the reason I'm saying is to try to minimize traffic in the morning or the afternoon, whenever it's a drop off. There's a distance, like let's say from Seoul traffic light down to Guangdong, it's about maybe 6 bus stop there. The reason I'm asking is that actually necessary to have a 6 bus stop there, or we can minimize whatever? Because see, it's like whoever requested, it's like, see, so-and-so has 2 children, can I have a bus stop in front of my house? They put a bus stop because they're trying to accommodate. Is there a way that maybe PSS can reassess the bus station and say, is it necessary to have the bus stop station there? Or is it only from this end 200, 500 feet away? Because if you have every stop 100 feet, we're causing traffic. That's my concern, is try to move that flow as possible in the morning and have to drop off and pick up. Because there's so many, if I'm not mistaken, it's about 152 bus stop stations out there. And is it really mandatory to have those bus stop stations? And also, it's like, is the bus stop that be directed? Everybody, like you said, a company, it's like it's a competition. Who's gonna make the best station, and who has the money, and who has the money? It's something that the PS would like if they can really look into it, have a formality, a scale or a template that if whoever requests of bus stop, this is how we want it. So we have a formality as to the bus stop station, because some bus stop are built with 2x4s, or some bus stop are built with a telephone pole, some are concrete. And then there's so many bus stop stations. And then when typhoon comes, they pick up the phone. Hey, Congressman, can you repair that bus stop? And that, wait, because it wasn't us that erected, but they put the burden on us that it's a must that we have to do something. And that's why they're trying to make it, if it would be easier if you can assist us and try to resurvey the location of the bus stop and maybe try to minimize it, and let's try to have a formality with DPW, and maybe we can work out who will be responsible for erecting and repairing. Because like you mentioned earlier, there's no fundamental sign of who actually is responsible. So when something happens, so let's go to the legislature, go to DPW, go PSS, so wait, would have been funding. So maybe in that case, maybe we can work on that, and we can assist you.
I'm sorry. Yes, Congressman. As a matter of fact, the PAC president, that's actually one of their main projects that we're working on right now. It was brought up, and we are currently scheduling a meeting with DPW first, and then hoping to bring in also the legislature to begin the conversation. With regards to the bus stop and where they're located right now, so I don't know if you recall, but in the past, bus stops were located everywhere in the village. Now all the bus stops were moved to the main highway. So we've done assessments and we've eliminated bus stops because yes, it was a concern with just the amount. But now having all the bus stops out in the main highway did address some of the traffic issues. And then now also with the decline in student population, maybe it is time for us to go back and revisit and look at the current bus stop to reassess.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. That we minimize traffic in the morning and the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Joe Flores. Recognized Leader Roy Ada.
Thank you, Chairman. One of my concerns is also the schools. Now that you guys are gonna prep for this typhoon, you guys are gonna open up for shelters, and that services everybody, the entire Sinamay. Could you please enlighten us as to what are the logistics, what is the cost, how the process goes with funding it or even getting reimbursed for it, just so that we know the gist of how it works for the administration in PSS.
Thank you. Congressman Flores, just to add on to the conversation you had, CODA also uses our bus stops, right? But thank you, Congressman Ada. The cost of operating a shelter is significant. And when the government calls PSS because of an incoming storm, we always answer that call, right? Our people mobilize. We work with our partners at Homeland Security. And this past storm with Bobby, we did activate the shelters. We do have a pool of people who are certified to manage these shelters. We activated our AOC. And I think there were issues that we've learned as a result of both typhoons. And recently, the public school system did our own after-action review with our team to see what went well, what didn't go well. And I think what didn't go well is, although we were able to mobilize our people in the shelters, we did not get the supplies needed to open up the shelters. So we had to also front up the cost using our own local funds that are earmarked towards payroll to make sure that these shelters had tissue, had water, had gas, everything. And it's a working relationship we have with Homeland Security. I think every typhoon we get better, but we hope that there are no more typhoons, but at least there's a working relationship there. And we've learned a lot from this recent Bobby to improve upon that.
So does PSS use their funding to fund these operations, and what is the challenge that PSS has in terms of affecting the overall budget of PSS?
Yeah, it's a path that we've tried to tread very carefully, especially with the limited funds that we have to cover payroll and the repairs at our schools, right? So we do front the cost and at the detriment too with our finances and our cash flow. We don't have enough funding. We don't have a lot of funding to sit on. We don't have slush funding. So I'm like looking at John because John has held this role for a year now, and I know it's been very difficult seeing how we could stretch that. And when schools call and say our aircon is broken, do we have money for that? I mean, that's a reality that we face every day leading up to the school opening. But as much as possible, right, when the community calls PSS, we always answer the call. We will not open a shelter without these supplies in there. So we'll try to find a way to cover it so that our people can come in safely and then work with Homeland Security to get the reimbursement and other supplies that we need.
So how much percentage of the budget that you guys normally would have to front before getting reimbursement? Like, is it like 5% of your budget or like 2% of it total that it affects?
Well, at least for budgeting purposes, and you have the budget book with you, that's not something that we budget for. Although it is a call and responsibility for the public school system, that is, if we have to front up costs, we just have to make reductions on our side. But I think, at least for myself, observing what happened with Sanlaku and Bavi is just leveraging the relationship with Homeland Security as much as possible so they can support us, where they take care of the procurement and we don't have to fund to operate the shelters.
Right, thank you for that. And that is the reason why I asked, because I was looking into the budget and I was kind of wondering if you guys had factored that in. And I think it's very important that because of the roles that you guys do take, other than just being the educators, you guys also, open up your schools for shelter. That's maybe something that you could factor in the budget and maybe even use as a leverage to justify raising your increase for the grant for the indirect costs so that it would cover. Maybe DOI could also, support these justifications because again, we don't want another storm. Unfortunately, we have one that's coming up, and then you're mandated to actually open up your schools again. And we just want to make sure that we cover these costs and help PSS, make sure that they do have the fundings to continue, providing after the storm, the full hours and the full days of education. So that's something that I would support if PSS is actually looking into that. We can even look into our delegation and maybe allocating some funds. I don't know, that's something that we'll probably sit down with the delegation and think about, how we can also incorporate that into the budget, your budget.
Thank you, Congressman Ada. And I've mentioned earlier that we did the after action report or review where our team, including shelter managers, we reviewed what went well, what didn't work well from these past two typhoons. And even that was being brought up by our shelter managers coming in to answer the call of duty, but not being very prepared because we don't have the supplies needed to do our work. So that did come out as a recommendation, having a rainy day fund or at least some supplies already readily available for when a storm hits. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And also, I'd just like to commend also the PTA organization, because I know that some of the short fundings that you do have for your school, PTA goes out and does fundraisers for things like this. And, I appreciate the community for supporting these efforts from PTA. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader Roy Ada. Members, we are ready on the 1 p.m. mark, and we have went and had this hearing over lunch time. The chair will consider one last question from Madam Floor Leader before we adjourn. You're recognized.
Thank you. I don't know why this always happens to me every single time. Every budget, it's always me. But anyway, just to follow up with Rep. Ada, how many total days did PSS work for both typhoons? Actually, not days, hours.
Madam Flores, are we talking about how many days did our shelter managers work for Sanlaku and then for Bavi?
Yes.
Okay. Let me.
And how much did that cost you?
Yeah, let me have Director John pull that number. Let's do days and then the amount. Okay. So maybe we could put that under the official request.
Yes,
and we could
please.
pull that.
And that's important because who was purchasing gas for the generators during those two times?
Was that who purchased it?
For the most part, we were leveraging Homeland Security.
So PSS didn't use any of their funds?
For Sanlaku, we used some of it using our existing contract.
How much?
It's not substantial.
Okay, but where you were using most of your local funds during this time of disaster and recovery, it was coming from the local funds. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to know for the record, and you can give it to this chairman, how much did you use in the local funds? Second one, before we close out, before I get cut off by the chairman, real quick. Can you carry over funds, yes or no? Because I heard carryover funds earlier saying that you can, but I think there's a confusion because at the Senate, they said you cannot, and under some other authority under the executive branch, they claim that you cannot carry over funds. Is it your understanding that you can or cannot carry over funds? Can you, yes or no?
I think that's an area where we have to clarify. The Senate did share that we are unable to carry over funds from one particular year to the next because that's criminal.
Okay, so has the public school system received all their allocations that this legislature has allocated, whether through local funds or through budgetary appropriation? Have they received all their funds, PSS, in any fiscal year? Yes or no?
There is some work that needs to go into that, but at least looking, because we had to do a report for that. Some years we did, some years we did not.
Okay, so for the record, and you can give it to this chairman, give us what you have and what they have completed and what is still owed. Because then that comes back to this carryover question, since we're already short in money, trying to figure out what we can do for the students, which is our constitutional obligation. Thank you, I yield my time.
Thank you, Madam Floor Leader. Madam Commissioner Jackie Che, on behalf of the members of the Ways and Means Committee, we again thank you and your PSS team for coming forward to the chamber to have an audience with this committee to discuss your requests and how we can get to the level where PSS is satisfied and that the institution can provide the services that is needed for our children and our students. So with that, I will give you now the floor for any last words if you have before we continue on with our order of business. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair and members of the House Ways and Means Committee, for your time, for meeting and past lunch. It really shows that we're really putting students first, right? At least in this meeting, because we're wanting to go deep dive into these issues. But I want to thank you for your partnership. I want to thank the team here at PSS and our partners, including PAC, for all the support over the last few months. And I appreciate Representative Flores when she said, let's not look at the numbers, right? Let's look at the human factor. And the human factors are students. At the end of the day, we're fighting for this budget because of our students. And so I really appreciate you kind of anchoring that discussion to students. I do welcome you in the next few days to visit our campus, to meet our teachers, to meet our principals, to see students in action. And I do thank you again for the opportunity to even reach out to you for help. If we need help with repairs, if we need help with bush cutting, we will certainly reach out to all of you. The official request I'll be expecting from you very soon, but the team will be working on all of that and will be prepared to provide all the information you need. At the very end of the day, as long as we can get close to 44 million, we'll do everything we can to get our kids back to 5 days and our people closer to the 80-hour mark. Again, we lose people every day. And you know that, right? There is an exodus, but every day our HR office receives a resignation. And mostly it's from the school. And it's mostly because people are looking for better opportunities off island. But when we lose one teacher, you lose many opportunities for our students, because that one teacher can change the trajectory of 20 students' lives in that classroom. So losing that 1 multiplies to 20. And that's it. Welcome back, PSS. We look forward to a very successful year ahead with your support.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. And the chair will also, I'll be remiss to extend my appreciation again to Ms. V and Ms. Jasmine Camacho from OMB for being here with us to assist us in this committee meeting. So we move further down on our order of business. We are now on item 6, and that is announcements. Members and to the viewing public, the chair had called again a Ways and Means Committee for this Friday, 10 a.m. with commissioners from Civil Service and director from OPM. And then at 1:30 on Friday, we will be meeting with folks from NMC. So with that, we are now in our last order of business, item 7, adjournment. The chair now adjourns this Ways and Means Committee meeting. Thank you, members, to the viewing public.